welcome back to the Andrew and Ian Show. I'm Andrew Sorok here again with Ian. Hi, Ian. Another week, another bit of chaos, I guess you could say, both in the NFL and college football. A lot to get into, but how you doing this evening, man?
I'm doing pretty good, but yeah, like you said, there's a little bit of wackiness going around now, so ready to dive right into it.
Yeah, and let's get right into this. We're going to start here with the NFL. Thursday night football, we had the Ravens hosting the Bengals. The Ravens, a come from behind win to win this one 35-34. And it kind of seemed like this game is going to be over for Baltimore pretty quickly. We went into the half 14-7, so didn't look anything too out of the ordinary. But it just looked like Cincinnati was kind of just dominating them in a way. The Baltimore offense was not clicking, and then you get into the second half, and Baltimore's offense just really started going. 3 touchdowns in that fourth quarter, and Baltimore they sneak away with the win here. Derrick Henry. This is the first game this season where Derrick Henry didn't rush for 100 yards and they win the game. And he did not have a great game either. 16 carries for 68 yards. Not his best game, but Joe Burrow, 428 yards, 4 touchdowns. A really good game. Just the Bengals couldn't figure out a way to get this one done. The defense is struggling, and the Bengals now fall to 4-6, man. And they're trying to dig out of that hole that they started the season with, but man, it's not looking good for them now.
Yeah, you said it. It's not an ideal situation for Cincinnati. You drop it. Not only do you drop a divisional game, but you're now 2 games under 500, and you're already facing astronomical odds to make the playoffs anyway, considering their start. But now it's almost out the window at this point. But Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase did all they could to try and win this one, but at the end of the day, it just wasn't enough. And like you said, Baltimore getting the win with Derrick Henry not having his best game of the season it's a good sign of things to come for Baltimore. And now they were what, like 0-3 to start the season or something like that, and they're now
0-2, and then
7-3.
they had a losing record for a while.
Yeah, so they've changed it up now. So good for Baltimore, and they're looking like the legitimate threat to the Chiefs that we all thought they were.
Yeah, that should be. I honestly, I think that's going to be our AFC title game. If I had to tell you right now, although with the way the Chiefs are playing, man, I don't know about that. um, but anyways, the Munich game Sunday morning. I did not watch this game. I did not care to watch this game. I don't know what NFL executives were thinking when they thought, let's take two of our biggest dumpster fire teams in the league right now and put them in Germany where we really want to try to grow the sport. Who the fuck thought that was a good idea? To put like the two most rat ass teams you possibly could in Germany for a game when you're trying to grow the sport in Europe. Like, just why? Just why? It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. Carolina wins this one in overtime, 20-17. Really great defensive game. No, I'm just kidding. The offense is just blow ass. Daniel Jones, typical stat line, no touchdowns, 2 picks. Bryce Young didn't throw an interception in this game, which is very surprising. He went 15 for 25, 126 yards, and 1 touchdown. Probably his best game of his career. You'd like to see the yardage be way up there more, but 15 for 25, that's actually pretty damn good for him. But it was all just the run game is basically what won this game for both teams here. But yeah, also New York, they got the ball to start overtime, and they fumble on the first play, and then Carolina's just like, okay, we'll just kick a 38-yard field goal from there. So it was 36-yard. But yeah, it's they didn't even have to try. to do anything. They're just like, yeah, fuck it, let's go, and they win the game here. But yeah, very. I don't know what the NFL was thinking putting these two teams in Germany. Again, you're trying to grow the sport in Europe, and you put the two most rat-ass teams you possibly could out on that field.
Yeah, I mean, like I said in previews, I was expecting this one to be a tie, but for this one to be your get one of your international games, I'm not pleased with it. You have so many other matchups you could have had, better matchups from better teams. You could have put Baltimore and Cincinnati out there and left New York and Carolina to play Thursday night. Keep the tradition of bad games on Amazon. But nonetheless, Carolina won a game, New York lost a game, and New York's playing for that number one pick now, and Carolina's kind of winning their way out of it at this point. And there's not much else to be said for either of these teams because neither of them are looking at playoffs.
Yeah, and you were so close to having a tie too.
I really was.
You were so close. Because if New York,
It
doesn't
even went into overtime.
right, it went into over. Like you were so close, and just of course, just the most fucking Giants thing ever happens. The Chiefs hosted the Broncos. The Chiefs narrowly winning this one, 16-14. And yeah, this is just it's getting embarrassing at this point for the Chiefs, having to beat not good teams this way with a blocked field goal to end the game. Which if you look at the play, it's just like the Denver line on the entire left side of that line. Like they didn't even as soon as the ball was snapped, they just laid down and took a nap. They didn't even fucking even try to block there, and Kansas City gets the fucking win again. And this Kansas City offense blows, and this Denver defense is not really that good either. And he only put up fucking 16 points on them. Patrick Mahomes looked awful. Again, he doesn't have a lot of weapons to throw to right now, but for fuck's sake, man, someone beat this fucking Chiefs team. They are so beatable, but you just can't do it. And Denver almost did it, and they fucking blew it on a chip shot fucking field goal to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, you said it best. That Denver O-line completely blew it. All you had to do was block for one field goal attempt. That's it. Not even just, block hard and just make sure they don't get through the line. And you said it. They just laid down and let them have it. It's like the SpongeBob scene where the guy steals his ice cream and Plankton's telling him, to get his ice cream back. And he says, now let him have it. And SpongeBob's like, all right, yeah, you can take it now. It's like, no, not like that, man. You could have done it.
Yeah,
you really could have done it.
You could have been the first team to beat the Chiefs for the first time since Christmas last year, and you just fucking can't do that, man. Nope. It's literally like that line took a nap, dude. Like I don't know.
It was all red jerseys after the snap coming through that line. It was like the line might as well have not even been on the field at that point.
It 100%. You 100% are right about that. The Commanders hosted the Steelers. The Steelers winning this one at 28-27. This was probably one of Jaden Daniels' worst games this year. 17 for 34, 202 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. But yeah, the Steelers kind of had to come back from behind. They score with just over 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter to go up 28-27. And yeah, after that, the Pittsburgh defense just did what they needed to do and made sure the Commanders' offense couldn't go downfield. I mean, the Steelers got one of the best defenses in the league right now, and the Commanders one of the best offenses, and it shows just how good that Steelers defense really is. Because Washington had quite a bit of time still to get down the field and try and score even a field goal, and they couldn't even get into field goal range. So there's that for you.
Yeah, yet again, we see this season where Washington plays a good or one of the best defenses in the league, and they lose. They lost week one to the Buccaneers when they were all healthy, and that Bucks team ended up, winning week two against the Lions. So that was a very good Bucks team at the time. And, you know, the Commanders also lost to the Ravens, and we now know the Ravens are a very good team. It was a close game, like it was here again against Pittsburgh, but it was still a 7 point game. So we know Washington is a good team on offense. They just can't find that way or can't find that one extra play to beat that elite or good defense. Their only real win against a good defense, I would say, this season is against the Bears, and it was a close game. So, I mean, again, that Bears defense is pretty damn good. But at the end of the day, you're not in panic mode if you're Washington. You're still 7-3. You're what, a half game behind the Eagles now? Yeah, because the Eagles are 7-2 now. So all around, you're in a pretty good position, especially considering uh, you did acquire Lattimore from the Saints. I don't know if he suited up for this game, but your defense is going to get
I
better. And Jaden
don't
Daniels
I don't
is a rookie
believe
quarterback.
Lattimore did suit up for that.
So again, their defense is going to get better, but overall a good performance from Washington and a loss in Pittsburgh. It looks like you might actually win the division if the Ravens still have that one loss on them at the end of the year. So I'm watching the AFC North, the top two of these teams. They're looking pretty scary in the AFC right now.
Yeah. For this game, I don't even know how I want to start this one off. Just
It's fucking embarrassing! It's fucking embarrassing! What is that? What the fuck is that?
the Jaguars hosted the Vikings, and the Vikings win 12-7 without scoring a single fucking touchdown. Um, you look at the stat line, and you're just like, how did you only score 12 fucking points? Because the Vikings had 402 yards of total offense compared to Jacksonville's 143. You had damn near 3 times the fucking yards that Jacksonville had, and you only put up 4 field goals in this entire game. Jesus fucking Christ. You had 42 minutes of possession time, and you only put up 12 points, 4 field goals. Literally,
What is that? What the fuck is that?
I have no explanation for that. Sam Darnold, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns, obviously. That's the Sam Darnold I fucking know. That's the Sam Darnold I remember. I think it's safe to say that the Vikings are not even on fraud watch anymore. They are just frauds.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of been hinting at it a little bit throughout the season. They might not have been as good as their record said. I mean, their one really good win was against the Texans, where they won 34-7. So, I mean, they beat the Niners in week two. They were beat up. They didn't have CMC at the time. I don't think Debo was playing at that time. But then they almost lost to the Packers. They had a big lead up on the Packers, and they allowed the Packers to get close. And then the Lions came and beat them and gave them their first loss. And then the Lions curse struck, and then they lost to the Rams. And now we're starting to see they're not, as good as they were. They're now a full game behind still because the Lions are now 8-1. And they don't have the tiebreaker. You still have the Lions to play. But that Lions defense is getting healthier than it was when they last played. I'm not looking forward to that if I'm Minnesota. And that's the last week in Detroit.
And
I'm
here's the thing too.
terrified.
Here's the thing too, is they're healthier than when they played the Lions, and they're playing worse. It's almost like it's almost like the long COVID thing. It's just long Honolulu flu, like for Minnesota. Like it's just that's just what it is. They're healthier now. T.J. Hawkinson's been back, and they're worse. I have a hard time really believing in this Minnesota team now, especially with Mac Jones and that entire offense. I mean, you did what you had to defensively, but offensively, man, You just couldn't fucking you just couldn't do anything. You were able to move the ball. You got into field goal range 4 times, and that's about it. You couldn't fucking touch the red zone half the time. Um, in fact, yeah, you all of your field goals you weren't in the red zone for. So, yeah, it's fucking embarrassing, and you are not even on fraud watch. You are just frauds.
Yeah,
The
I think that's the best way to put it. They're no longer on fraud watch.
Yeah, they were on fraud watch, and now they're just frauds. The Saints hosted the Falcons. The Saints getting the upset win here, 20-17, in one of the worst games for the Falcons this year. Plain and simple, this was one of the worst performances from this Falcons team this year. They sold at or they bought at the deadline. The Saints sold at the deadline, giving away their best corner, and you only put up 17 points on them. And Kirk Cousins didn't even throw for a touchdown. He did throw for 306 yards, but yeah, just really weird game. But overall, the Saints dominated you in that first half. It was 17-7 at halftime. Yes, you were able to claw back, but yeah, just not a particularly good game from the Falcons, and there's some things they got to clean up for sure.
Yeah, this is now game 4 of the now 4-game stretch where Falcons have been looking kind of shaky, and it starts with their loss against Seattle. I mean, they lost by 20 points to Seattle, and at that point, Seattle couldn't seem to buy a win at that point. And then the next week, they had a 5-point win against the Buccaneers, who were beat up to all hell and still are. And then you had a 6-point win against Dallas, and we know Dallas is not a good team. And we know that good teams in the NFC this year go to Dallas, or they play Dallas, and they just beat up Dallas. That's not a comfortable feeling. You're only beating Dallas by 6 points in your own place. And now you follow that up with a 3-point loss to the Saints, like you said, after the Saints sold at the deadline. So I'm not really in a position to say abandon ship. You got a 2-game lead on your division because your division is just that bad behind you. But if you suffer another loss like this later on, they're not a good bet on the playoffs by any means. But
Oh no, they're getting knocked out by a wild card team. Plain and simple.
they're just gonna make the playoffs simply because they're gonna win the
Rest
NFC
of their
South.
division is that bad.
And that's just par for the course for the NFC South. So I guess we'll see how Atlanta plays for the rest of the season, but I'm not really high on them right now. So they got to figure things out. And for the Saints, kind of in the same boat as the Panthers, you're winning yourself out of the first round, the first overall pick there.
Yeah, and they could definitely use that. The Bucks hosted the Niners. The Niners winning this one with a last-second field goal to win this one, 23-20. Christian McCaffrey's been back. 13 carries, 39 yards for him. Nothing too crazy. What's that? 3 yards a carry. Baker Mayfield, not a great game though. 18 for 29, 116 yards, 1 touchdown. But really, what I want to touch on in this game is just the lack of awareness, I guess, for Tampa Bay. You're asking a guy like Brock Purdy, who I don't like, but he can, for some reason, just clutch a fourth quarter, last second drive to get into field goal range, and he did just that. And while Jake Moody was awful today with multiple, or not today, but awful on Sunday with a lot of missed field goals, he made the most important one with time expiring and gets the Niners the win.
Yeah, you said it. I mean, how about that for Jake Moody? You miss a few field goals throughout the game, and then you get a chance at redemption to win it. And yeah, he missed 3 on the day. It's not a good feeling by any means. And in a game where Christian McCaffrey did come back and was more productive in the passing game than the run game, against this beat up Tampa team that is potentially going to see Mike Evans coming back after the bye week is it's kind of concerning because the Niners, you're looking at a wild card spot right now with the way another team in your division is playing right now, and they don't have the tiebreaker against them. So it's a good win to kind of right the ship and get back above 500, but they got work to do.
Yeah, and they got a lot of work to do. Speaking of work to do, man, this Bills team, they didn't look all too good in this game, and I'll be honest with you. The Colts hosted the Bills winning this one 30-20. Offensively, the Bills looked all right. They did what they needed to do. But your defense is the reason why you won this game. You started off the game with a pick six, not even 3 minutes in the game. And then from there, your offense did enough. But Josh Allen, 2 interceptions in this game is unacceptable. If you want to continue playing super well and at a high level. And against this Chiefs defense that you're going to be facing this coming week, you can't be fucking playing that way if you're Josh Allen. So, you were able to get bailed out by your defense a lot in this game. The run game was working pretty well against this Indy team, which, I mean, it's Indy. They can't really stop the run right now. So yeah, it's just your defense is what won this game for you. If you're Buffalo, you got a lot of things to clean up offensively.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, this week was the week where quarterbacks throw a lot of interceptions, as we've seen that across the league this past weekend. But like you said, only winning this game by 10 points is it's a little concerning. But at the end of the day, with Josh Allen with the 2 interceptions, it's about time he started throwing some. Or at least you figured he was due for some. And you win the game by 10 points. But like you said, that defense is really keeping them in there. And I really considered the Bills like my favorite to come out of the AFC. But right now, with the way the Ravens are playing, I'm going to have to change that. So, it's an okay win for the Bills. They're 8-2, and they're clear favorites to win their division. So it's kind of like the Falcons, where they're all but guaranteed a playoff spot simply because of their division. But it might be a little shaky once you get into the playoffs.
Yeah, who's the least serious division, the AFC East or the NFC South? You could do a coin flip on that one.
Yeah.
The Bears. Fraud alert. Oh wait, no, they're not a fraud alert. They're just frauds. They hosted the Patriots and they lose 19-3. Caleb Williams has not thrown a touchdown in 3 games now. Kind of concerning. The first few weeks of the season, he was looking kind of shaky like this. He had like the last few weeks. He starts picking it up, and now he's gone 3 for 3 without scoring a touchdown in his games, and it is just not ideal. Today, the Bears fired their offensive coordinator, and I don't think that's really going to matter because Eberflus is going to be gone at the end of this year, the way he's been coaching. But this is just there's no offensive line for Williams. He has weapons. He has a lot more weapons than Fields or Trubisky ever had, but it doesn't matter when you can't fucking protect your quarterback, and he's just not any good, man. He's just really not. And yeah, Eberflus is gone, and this is going to be another quarterback, I think, that the Bears just destroy.
Yeah, I wouldn't pull the trigger on that one just yet, but it's starting to look that way. Like you said, this is yet another game in a row where he has not thrown a touchdown. And it's just not a good performance. I mean, 16 completions, 14 incompletions, only for 120 yards. And in all respects, outside of not throwing an interception, got outperformed by Drake May on the other side, who was also a rookie quarterback on a worse team with less weapons. So it's a big concern for me in Chicago. And like you said, they did fire their OC, and like you said, I'm with you. I don't think Eberflus is going to be there at the end of the year. He should be on the hot seat, and he should have been the one to go, I think. But at the end of the day, we'll see if the OC change is enough. But we could be looking at a Jets situation where they make a coaching change, and at the end of the day, it's not enough to plug the hole and stop the boat from sinking.
Yeah, I think it's too little, too late. I really do. But ultimately, I think that it's not going to matter. It's just going to be like the Jets, you know. Um, we know that the Jets' problem was not Salah, and I don't think it's necessarily the OC's fault, but Eberflus is trying to save his ass, and I kind of understand that to a point. The Chargers hosted the Titans. The Chargers winning this one 27-17. And man, what a game from this Chargers offense, man. Not too flashy, especially like Justin Herbert with his 164 yards and one touchdown. But he went 14 for 18. But they just keep pounding the ball, man, and that is what Jim Harbaugh loves to do. And you had two titanic defenses going at it this week, and you know, eventually, I mean, someone has to win, someone has to score, and the Chargers were able to handle this Titans defense pretty damn well. And yeah, Will Levis is back. I don't know if he made any memes this week though.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Will Levis is back. I'm not sure if any memes came out of him this week, but at the end of the day, a win didn't come out of him either. So I don't know if swapping back from Mason Rudolph was necessarily the right move, but at the end of the day, Will Levis did not throw an interception. So it's okay, it's progress, but the Chargers come away with the win, and 6-3 in the Jim Harbaugh era. They're starting to embody their head coach a little bit now.
Yeah, and the Chargers are going to make the playoffs, man. I really think they will. They're very, very under the radar, and they just keep winning. And I think if they stay that way, they can make a somewhat sneaky run in the playoffs. I don't think to the AFC Championship game, but probably make them get themselves out of the wild card round. I would not be surprised by that. The Cowboys hosted the Eagles. The Eagles winning this one 34-6. Jerry Jones, you haven't won a game at home this year.
It's fucking embarrassing.
For you, not for me. I hate the Cowboys. I hope you never win a game at home ever again. Because fuck you, Jerry Jones. But anyways, yeah, the Eagles win 34-6. Jalen Hurts, great game. Obviously, Dak Prescott, he's out. He's out for the year with that quad injury that he had to get surgery on. Cooper Rush came in 13 for 23 for 45 yards. That is not good. Lot of like super short check down passes, screen passes, stupid shit like that. But yeah, the Eagles just they did what they needed to do, and ultimately they get the win over Dallas, and they also get the lead in the division.
Yeah, you said it. It's fucking embarrassing for the Cowboys and Jerry Jones. You've lost 4 straight now, not just at home, but overall in the season as well. So it's a real rough look for someone who said we're going all in this offseason and then proceeded to sit with his thumb up his ass. So great job going all in, Jerry. As a Lions fan, I really applaud you.
Yeah, I think I speak for all NFL fans that aren't Cowboy fans. Thank you for that. You've really given us a great season this year, Jerry. The Cardinals hosted the Jets. The Cardinals winning this one 31-6, and this kind of makes you kind of laugh in a way with the whole firing Robert Saleh thing, because ever since they fired Saleh, the defense week by week has gotten worse, and the offense week by week has also gotten worse. Saleh was not the problem. I think the GM might be gone after this year. The way things have gone for the Jets, really this whole year, and allowing Aaron Rodgers to have this much control over your team. If I'm the owner of the Jets, I'm firing my fucking GM this year. I'd fire him right now because you're allowing Rodgers to have this much control over the team. Although this might be ownership also allowing Rodgers to have that. But either way, you fire Saleh, the defense gets worse, and the offense also gets worse. When you take away play calling from Nathaniel Hackett, of all people, your offense gets worse, which is just... I don't understand how that makes any sense, because Nathaniel Hackett's fucking stupid, but here we are. But Kyler Murray, what a fucking game from him. 22 for 24, 266 yards, 1 touchdown. He also ran for 2 touchdowns in this game. Absolutely incredible game from him. It's still funny as fuck watching him run because he literally looks like a fucking running bobblehead, but with that fucking helmet, man, on his tiny ass body. But yeah, the Cardinals walk away with a win here and a solid lead now in the division.
Yeah, either Black Ops 6 is really trash, or the people that Kyler Murray faces against get him so tilted that he just has to come out and actually play good at football, because the Cardinals are now 3-0 since Black Ops 6 is released. So clearly Kyler Murray is not inclined to play Black Ops 6 by any means. So he's playing really good football right now, and like you said, for this Jets team, you're in a really bad position now at this point, and I kind of thought this would happen. This is, a team that was kind of built by Aaron Rodgers, who just left Green Bay because he wasn't winning games in Green Bay. He wasn't happy in Green Bay, but then proceeded to uproot the OC and parts of the offense to bring to New York, and then proceeds to complain because he's not winning games in New York. Now, granted, last year he had all of, 4 plays before he was injured, so can't really speak on that. But this year, he's not playing good at all, and no touchdowns and no picks this game, but only 151 yards, and you've had all of these changes now. They got rid of Robert Saleh, and Nathaniel Hackett was stripped of play calling abilities, and you're still losing games. You got Devontae Adams, so you have a trustworthy target, and you target him 13 times. He's only coming down with 6 catches, so like the same problem was in Green Bay, and why Devontae Adams eventually left Green Bay. People got on him because he wasn't catching the ball. He's getting double-digit targets, and now same thing's happening. So, not really surprised the Jets haven't caught on to why they're failing. But at the end of the day, they might end up tanking for the first overall pick, and they might be able to steal it.
Yeah, they just might be able to do that. Sunday Night Football, what a game. Houston hosting Detroit. The Lions winning this one 26-23. In probably the Lions' worst offensive performance all year. Jared Goff, who was one of the most efficient quarterbacks coming into this game. In fact, the most efficient quarterbacks coming into this game, with over a 70% completion percentage. He goes 15 for 30, 5 interceptions. 5. And they still win this game. That is grit. That is one of the best comebacks I have ever seen in my lifetime watching football. You were down 23-7 at the half. Your defense steps up in the second half. Carlton Davis, first play of the first half, pick. I mean, incredible stuff. And it was funny too, because they showed the halftime interview with Dan Campbell, and he said we need to get some takeaways, and then boom, get a takeaway right off the bat from Carlton Davis, and then Jared Goff obviously threw a pick that next drive as well, so it didn't really matter to kind of cancel each other out. But Carlton Davis also had a great game. He was targeted on his coverages. I believe it was 9 times, allowed 3 receptions, 2 interceptions as well, and allowed like 20 something yards. Really, really solid game from him. But yeah, this Lions defense stepped up big time with Goff not playing his best, and the offensive line looked awful in the first half as well. Goff was under pressure on like 70% of his dropbacks in the first half. And in the second half, they stepped up. It was really weird seeing Penei Sewell getting beat damn near every fucking play, too. But yeah, like I said, Lions mount a great comeback. They don't allow a single point to a Houston team that utterly dominated them in that first half. And yeah, Detroit comes back with a win.
Yeah, if you would have told me that the Detroit Lions win a football game with Jared Goff throwing 5 interceptions, I would have told you a crack dealer, and then would have subsequently asked for your dealer's number. But yeah, that's the reality we're living in, and sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. So at the end of the day, it was not a pretty win, and like I said uh, earlier, I don't remember which game it was specifically, but so yet another game where we had a lot of interceptions. I mean, we had 7 interceptions total combined from both of these quarterbacks. It was pick city. But at the end of the day, it's a game. If you're Houston, you just competed with one of the best offenses in the league, and you lost because Jake Bates decided to tease both goalposts. Which at the end of the day, it's a respectable performance from Houston. I mean, like you said, we don't see Jared Goff throw interceptions, let alone 5 in a game. I mean, that's what we call the Nathan Peterman special, right? I mean,
Goff came in with less interceptions came into the game with less interceptions than he threw in that game.
yeah, he quite literally doubled his interception total for the year. He had 4 coming into the game, and the Detroit Lions won a game. And the best thing that summarizes this team is I saw a meme, and it was uh, Goff is 0 incompletions, the Lions win. Goff throws for less than 100 yards, yeah, the Lions still win. Goff throws 5 ins, believe it or not, the Lions still win. And it's like, yep, that's the state of football right now. The Detroit Lions are one of, if not the best team in the league, and Houston might just be up there with them.
The thing is and you know, this is what I was kind of hinting at with the '07 Pats and Greatest Show on Turf thing that I was talking about on Thursday's episode. No matter how bad of a game they're having, they still fucking find a way to win games. And that is just pure grit from these Motor City Gritty Kitties. It's just, you love to see it. What one of the best comebacks I've ever seen in my entire life watching football. And then lastly, last night, Monday Night Football, the Rams hosted the Dolphins. The Dolphins winning this one 23-15. And it was a pretty good game from actually both these quarterbacks. Tua 20 for 28, 207 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. Matt Stafford 32 for 46, 293 yards, 1 int. Didn't throw for a touchdown, but and that's kind of my thing. You're not going to win in this league without scoring touchdowns, and they obviously lost. But one thing I really want to hit on in this game is. Well, yes, Miami did play a very, very solid game. I think Tua is just fucking, I can't say the word I want to say. I just can't. He's very fucking stupid. Think of the most stupid person you know and then multiply it by 50. That's Tua. He throws a pick and then goes for a tackle on the ball carrier, and he leads with his head into the guy's leg. Does this man not fucking learn? This man is just genuinely fucking stupid.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned it, because that was going to be one of my main points of emphasis. And if I am the Dolphins medical staff at this point, I got to be pulling him aside and saying, yo, you got to stop this shit, You saw how this team was without him. And even with him, they'll still lose games, but they're capable of winning games with him. So they need him on the field. And doing dumb shit like that, you're not gonna stay on the field. And with his health, and his records now, and how many concussions he has, especially, you know, for a quarterback, at that point, you already threw the interception. You don't want to try and go for the tackle and injure yourself, especially if you're leading with the head and essentially just getting kicked in the head at that point. So it's a really bad, stupid decision. But you won the game at the end of the day. But you gotta make sure he's actually all there still, because that's just a mistake that you can't have in any capacity.
No, it's not, and like I said, this man is just gonna end his career short, in maybe even his life short. The way he keeps doing all this stupid stuff. I mean, he's got one of the flimsiest necks I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a guy bounce his head off the fucking turf the way he does. And then also like, just leading with your head to make a like, come on, dude. Do you not learn? Like, I know you have all these concussions and your brain's probably soup, but for fuck's sake, dude, figure it the fuck out. But yeah, either way, the Dolphins get the win. It's a nice win. They're back in the win column. Their schedule, they might make the playoffs based on their schedule, man. If you look at it, they might make the fucking playoffs. Their next four, they got 3 games that are super, super easy against really, really bad teams, so they should win those. But the Dolphins might make the playoffs when they're 3-6 right now. That's just how bad their, or easy, I guess you should say, or I should say, their schedule is. Their way out. So that is going to wrap up the NFL. We're going to jump on over now to college football, and I want to get your thoughts on something here. Is there any good team in college football? Like, genuinely? Because I watched all these games this weekend in the top 25, and I'm just like, none of these teams are any good. Like, I'm serious. None of these teams are actually like what you expect in college football with a team that's just like, with a team or two that's just like way out there above everyone else. Everyone's pretty much damn near the same, and like, you can't even call them frauds, because if you do, everyone's a fraud. And I just, what do you think? Like, is there any team that's actually good anymore?
It's kind of weird to say, but I feel like in a way the NIL and the transfer portal may have found a way to balance out college football, but I don't know. Like, I'm not confident that any team is, head and shoulders, above the rest. We've seen all of these teams now, and even with Oregon, who's undefeated number 1 right now, they've played some close games with some lesser teams, and that's, rise for concern across the board. I mean, we still have very few undefeated teams left in this league, and that's, sign itself, that you might not go undefeated this year. I mean, hell, we have 0 SEC teams that are undefeated, and that's probably one of the weirdest things about this whole SEC, or this whole football season. So it's just one of those things where you sit there and it's like, you could argue that Oregon, yes, they are the best team, but I don't think they're head and shoulders above the rest.
No, and that's the thing. I don't think any team is head and shoulders above the rest. I mean, normally you see undefeated team and they're just beating the shit out of every fucking one, and then you know they might play a team that's good but not great like them, and they'll play a close game with them, but then they'll bounce back and beat the shit out of another good team. So it's like, but now there's not a great team in college football right now, because and we'll get into that Oregon game, because there's some points I want to make there, but man, everyone's frauds. Realistically, everyone's a fraud. So let's hop right into it. We'll start with big noon kickoff. We had number 2 Ohio State hosting Purdue. Ohio State winning this one 45-0. I mean, nothing out of the usual there. I mean, it's another week where Ohio State plays fucking nobody. Fucking shocker. I mean, yes, you don't get to control who you play or anything like that, but still, man, the schedule's so bad for Ohio State. But yeah, nice win there for them.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It's about as what you expected, right? I mean, Purdue. We've seen Purdue upset Ohio State at well, Ohio State is the number 2 team in the nation. I don't think Purdue has ever beaten Ohio State in Columbus. And yeah, this is just goes to show that Purdue is literally the dumpster fire of the Big Ten.
Yeah, I mean that's basically all it is Ohio State just beat up on the pure toilet of the Big Ten, and that's Purdue. Georgia Tech hosted number 4 Miami, and I think I called this one for a Georgia Tech win, didn't I?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember
I'd have to
now.
go back and check.
I would have to double check that. Or maybe I said Miami's probably going to win, but I think Georgia Tech's going to keep it close. But I'm praying Georgia Tech wins. I probably said that, to be honest with you. That sounds more like something I would say. But Georgia Tech wins 28-23, and it was just one of those games where you're expecting Miami to just get bailed out by the refs. You're expecting a Cam Ward comeback, and it just didn't fucking happen. It like they had time to try and get the ball back and try and rush down the field to get a score, but they just couldn't do it. And yes, I mean Miami's defense is god awful, but you would have expected a lot more out of this Miami offense in this game. And Cam Ward still threw for almost 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, and it still wasn't enough.
Yeah, I mean, this is down goes Miami for the first time this year, right? It's something we've been kind of watching for the past few weeks now. Is they've been playing some close games and they're not playing the caliber that they were. I mean, Cam Ward had a pretty good game. I mean, almost 350 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's continuing his Heisman campaign. But now with this game being a loss, they've reasonably dropped Miami in the rankings, and Miami might not end up winning their conference with one of the other ACC teams playing really well recently.
Yeah, they might not. I mean, Miami might win out. Realistically, they might, but I don't know. If they play like this, they might not win out. So who knows? Number 5, Texas hosted Florida. Texas winning this one 49-17. Solid game from Quinn Ewers, 19 for 27, 333 yards, 5 touchdowns in that game. Florida, after I mean, it wasn't nice, but it was a good game against Georgia. It wasn't a good loss, obviously, but they played a good game against Georgia, and then all that magic just disappeared this week against Texas, and Texas just ends up dominating them. And then Florida with some garbage time scores to get on the scoreboard because Texas was up 42-0, just barely past 2 minutes into the third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, this game was over at halftime. It was 35-0 Texas. It was, like you said, it was Florida getting a few scores late in the game to really make this look a little better on paper than it was for them. But yeah, Texas, they're with some of the losses around them, they're sneaking their way back into the top rankings of the country, and they're I know I mentioned this pre-show. If they lose a game before the SEC championship, or lose the SEC championship, and we end up with a slate of 11-2 SEC teams, we're gonna have a lot of playoff ranking chaos, and some teams are gonna be probably left out of the playoffs because of that.
Yeah, I can definitely foresee something like that. Just because, I mean, it's the way the SEC's been playing out this year. I don't think anyone really expected the way it has gone. But man, it's just there's some head scratchers this year. This is why I say I don't think there's any really. It's not just in the SEC, but just in college football in general, I just don't think there's a good team. Everyone's just like average this year. So it's kind of weird in that way. Number 16, Ole Miss hosted number 3, Georgia. Ole Miss with the win here, 28-10, and I know I picked Ole Miss to get the upset win here over Georgia, and I know you picked Georgia in this game. Carson Beck is a fraud. He is not good, and he's ugly as fuck. Just had to point that out there. Jackson Dart, not really a particularly great game from him, but certainly better than what we saw out of Carson Beck. And and also, man, Jackson Dart can fucking run. I completely forgot about that because we hadn't really seen that from him this year. But he can fucking run the ball, man. He led the team in rushing in this game. So really, really good game from Ole Miss in general. This is the best defense Lane Kiffin has ever had, and that's part of why. I mean, that Ole Miss defense had 3 takeaways in this game. In a game that Georgia controlled time of possession, but Ole Miss they do what they do. If they can keep playing like this each week instead of just screwing up on offense every fucking chance they get, they're gonna make the playoffs, but they cannot lose the rest of the season.
Yeah, like I said, this is one of those scenarios where if both of these teams win out before we have the SEC championship game, we're going to have some chaos. And I mean, it starts next week with Georgia playing Tennessee. If Georgia beats Tennessee, that's yet another SEC team with 2 losses. So it's going to get to that point where we're going to have a lot of tiebreakers coming in, and head-to-head opponents and point differentials and all of that are going to come into play. But right now, it's for Ole Miss, like you said, they got to keep winning, and we'll see if they make it. But I think they have a chance to really make the playoffs.
Yeah, they do. Ole Miss just has to win out. They will lose one more game. It doesn't matter to who. They're out. There's no world where I see this Ole Miss team, who already has 2 bad losses on the year, loses a 3rd game, even against a great team. There's just no way they make it. So, especially just with the way the rest of the college football world has kind of shaped out, and the way especially their conference is shaping out, I don't think a 3-loss Ole Miss team is going to fucking make the playoff. Number 8, Indiana hosted Michigan. Indiana slipping away with this one, 20-15. And I think Michigan did something in this game that kind of proves, one, Indiana's frauds with their 109th ranked strength of schedule this year. But Michigan's defense did a really good job of containing this Indiana offense, especially holding them to just a field goal in that second half. And the offense came alive for Michigan, but it just wasn't enough, especially late in the game, where they had to drive down the field to score a touchdown. First of all, Michigan had a lot of coaching malpractice. One, what the fuck was that call on the 2-point conversion that they failed? 2, Sharon Moore wasted 28 seconds of game clock by not calling a timeout, and he came up with the dumbest excuse that I've ever heard for that. But what I think really Michigan exposed in this game is not only just how bad Sharon Moore is, but and not just that Indiana's frauds, but how to beat Indiana, because you started to get Indiana to panic in the fourth quarter, especially because they weren't able to move the ball on you in that fourth quarter. If you are able to get this Indiana team to panic and start making mistakes, you can win games. You can beat that team. You just have to have an offense that is actually competent, and a head coach that is also competent, and a offensive coordinator that isn't fucking stupid. Because Kirk Campbell, Jesus Christ, how is Sharon Moore not taking over play calling responsibility? Because Sharon Moore's a great play caller. He's not a good head coach, though. But anyways, yeah. If you get Indiana to panic, you're going to win that game. Again, you just need a good offense to do that, and Michigan just does not have that. But I feel like Michigan could have won that game. They should have won that game if they had a competent staff.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Indiana's strength of schedule because that's exactly what I was going to point out. Is people complained about Michigan's last year, but the Michigan team that won the Natty last year was a much more talented team than this Indiana team is this year. And they were also a much more competent squad.
And they
and
also
more
weren't ranked
cohesive.
109th on strength of schedule. They were inside the top 100 for strength of schedule.
Exactly. And I mean, being in, below average in strength of schedule as, a Power 5 team is kind of sad. It's really depressing. And I understand why Indiana wasn't ranked as highly as they were for so long. And I mean, yeah, they have 10 wins, but they've literally beaten nobody this entire year. And Michigan was the best defense I think they've played this entire year, and they won by 5 points. It was one of the closest games they've played all year. And you said it. If you can get them to panic, you might get them to crack.
No, and that's what Michigan did. They got Indiana to panic. Signetti, when he started to panic, man, and he's got some he's got a funny attitude with everything. He's just like a senile old man. It's fucking fantastic watching him on the sideline. Kansas hosted number 17 Iowa State. Kansas with the win here, 45-36, in a game that nobody had Kansas even in this game because their offense is so bad, and they blow the doors off of Iowa State. And I mean, Kansas was up 31-13 at the half, and I'm looking at this game, I'm like, man, what the fuck happened to this Iowa State team? And this is, again, just another one of those games where I'm just like, yeah, there's really not a great team in fucking college football, is there? Like, Iowa State was playing fantastic, and now the last 2 weeks they've just dropped dead.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Iowa State went from 7-0 to 7-2 like that. And that's exactly what they did not want to have happen. And if, like we've been mentioning, with Kansas State right behind them, that's exactly what Kansas State wanted to have happen. And they just beat Kansas. So it kind of shows you what's in store for the last week of the season for Iowa State, who plays Kansas State. So that might be a punch your ticket to the Big 12 championship game right there.
Yeah, it just might be. North Texas hosted number 25 Army. Army winning this one just 14-3. When we previewed this game, I said I don't know what North Texas they are. I don't know what they are offensively. I don't know what they are defensively because I just don't really pay attention to Group of 5 teams unless they're ranked. So this was my first real look at North Texas this year, and I'm watching this Army. I'm like, man, this North Texas team can do some damage against the run. They were able to contain Army in that really, really good running offense to just only 14 points. So got to give credit to them. But offensively, this North Texas team is fucking. They might be worse than some of the MAC teams offensively. Like that's how bad they are. How they have 5 wins, I don't know. But maybe it's just more just due to the fact that Army's defense is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first game that Army's played this season where it's been. I mean, they won by double digits, but they scored less than 20 points. I don't think we've seen that all year.
No, they haven't scored less than 20 points all year until this weekend.
Well, yeah, because I was gonna say the lowest total they had was last week against Air Force, and that was 20-3. But again, we're not seeing Army give up that many points. So far, the highest amount of points they've given up in one game is 28 to East Carolina. But even in that game, they scored 45 points. So it's not like, East Carolina was even remotely close in that one at the end of the game.
No, and they weren't, but this Army's defense is fucking good, man. They are really, really good. Offensively, now I have some questions, but maybe at the same time, North Texas is actually pretty damn good at stopping the run. I don't honestly know. But yeah, Virginia Tech hosted number 23 Clemson. Clemson winning this one 24-14. This is another team that is outside looking in at the playoffs right now. The Miami loss definitely helps them, but they're still not in the ACC title game as of right now. But it's a nice win. It's not a win that you. It's a win you want to have where you just end up blowing this team out. But it's still a good win. Klubnik had a solid game. He didn't have a terrific game, but it's a good win for Clemson. Virginia Tech started to scare them a little bit in this game, but 3 turnovers for Virginia Tech. I think that's really what lost them this game.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It got close for a little bit, where Virginia Tech might have had a chance here, but at the end of the day, Clemson pulls away with the win, and with Miami losing, that ACC just became a little more wide open, and who knows, Clemson might sneak their way not only into the playoffs, but into the ACC championship, or even into the playoffs as an ACC champion.
Yeah, they might, but as of right now, they're not. But they very well could sneak themselves back into this. They just need some things to go their way. Texas Tech hosted number 20 Colorado. Colorado winning this one 41-27. Look, this game was close in the first half, and then Colorado just kind of blew the doors off of them in that second half. Shedeur Sanders had a really, really great game. And yeah, I mean, that's all you can really say. I mean, Travis Hunter is elite as well, both offensively and defensively. But yeah, this Colorado team, 7 wins. I don't think really anyone had that on the cards this year. They might go to the Big 12 championship game with the way their schedule is and the way they've been playing. They might go to the Big 12 championship game, especially if some other teams start falling apart.
Like I said, it might come down to that final week for Kansas State versus Iowa State. Because if both Kansas State and Colorado have 2 losses, Kansas State will win it on a tiebreaker due to Kansas State having the head-to-head victory over Colorado. So there's potential, but like Clemson, there's some obstacles that have to be overcome. But right now, like you said, 7 wins for Colorado, good for them. I mean, we've kind of been haters over them for the past season and whatnot, and they're starting to put a little bit of what they've been talking about into practice, right? They're guaranteed to go to a bowl game. They're guaranteed to have a winning season. So who knows how far they could go if they make it to the Big 12 championship, and then hell, they even win it, and then that's an auto bid to the playoffs. So there is that potential, but they have to have some teams ahead of them lose, and it could happen. There's been some chaos happen.
So I'm looking at it right now. Colorado would be in the Big 12 championship game right now. They're a game above Iowa State and Kansas State right now. So, well, in conference play, they're same record as all of them overall. But yeah, Colorado's sitting second in the Big 12 right now. So there's a chance. There's a very good chance right now, and their schedule's pretty easy from here on out. So it's possible. Number 1, Oregon hosted Maryland. Oregon winning this one 39-18 in a game where they didn't look all too great in this game. And it's another one of those games that I looked at this week where I'm just like, yeah, there really is not a great team this year in college football. And it's weird to just say that because even Oregon, they're sitting 10-0, but they could very easily be sitting 7-3 right now. The way they've played some of these games this year, especially early on in the season, but they pulled out the win. Dylan Gabriel played a really phenomenal game, but Maryland, they stuck in it for a while, and then the fourth quarter they kind of fell apart. They were down 11, still early in that fourth quarter, yeah, like I said, they just kind of fell apart defensively, and that was kind of the game.
Yeah, I mean, it has not been a good season overall for Maryland. I mean, you lost to Michigan State, and now they're 1-5 in Big Ten play and 4-5 overall. So Maryland came into Big Ten play 3-0, and has subsequently just shit the bed. And I mean, I didn't expect much from this Maryland team, but like you said, this was closer than or I think Oregon would like for a little bit. I mean, it was 21-10 going into half, which you're probably sitting there like, oh, it's an 11-point win or 11-point lead at that time, and yeah, it's enough. But they ended up winning it by 21, so they added 10 more on top of that to that differential. So they made it more comfortable by the end, but there was kind of a time where it was like it could happen, but it's not very likely. And Oregon's 10-0 now, and like you said, there's not really a great team out there right now.
No, there really, really isn't. Number 7, Tennessee hosted Mississippi State. Tennessee winning this one 33-14, and it really wasn't close the entire time. Now, Tennessee's offense has not been playing well over the last 3, 4, 5 weeks now. This was their best performance, granted, against a really, really bad Mississippi State team. But this was their best performance offensively in weeks, and you got to take it with a pinch of salt. Like I just said, it is a very bad Mississippi State team, but it's a nice win in SEC play. But again, Mississippi State.
Yeah, I mean, I think my biggest takeaway is their quarterback is still uncertain to play against Georgia. So this could come into play where Tennessee is going to be without their starting quarterback in this one. But at the end of the day, they get the win, like you said, against the bad Mississippi State team, and they're one of the few teams that do not have two or more losses in the SEC right now. So that makes 2 of them between them and Texas.
Yeah, and I think that's going to change this weekend, but we'll talk about that on Thursday. Number 10, Notre Dame hosted Florida State. Notre Dame winning this one 52-3, and Florida State it was down 7-3 in the first quarter. And you're like, okay, Florida State might be somewhat alive. Nope. Nope. Don't even fucking think about it. They're dead. That entire program is dead. Solid win for Notre Dame, and yeah, there's a pick six towards the end for 79 yards to really just put the fucking hurt in on Florida State side, but solid game from Notre Dame. Riley Leonard had an average game. I mean, he's not really the greatest quarterback, but he does what you need him to do, and he can still run the ball too, so that's always nice to have. But Notre Dame dominant win over a very, very bad Florida State team, but still a really nice win.
Yeah, I mean, if you would have told me that Florida State and Purdue would be competing to have the worst record in FBS, I would have laughed at you. So I would have been like, no, Florida State's going to have more wins than Purdue easily. But here we are. Both Florida State and Purdue have 1 win. And that about sums it up for Florida State, not just in this game, but in the season overall. It's not been a good season for them. And yeah, Notre Dame just, blew the brakes off of them.
Yeah, Notre Dame did what they needed to do to keep themselves in the playoffs. Like I said, if they lost that game to Florida State, they have to be out of the playoffs, because that loss to NIU still keeps looking worse and worse every fucking week, man. So one loss to a bad team for Notre Dame, and it's over. I genuinely believe it's over for them. Number 15, LSU hosts number 11, Alabama. Bama winning this one 42-13. And this was a game where, Bama came off a bye, and you know how I've been talking about Jalen Milroe not playing right, not looking right. It looked like he was playing hurt in the last couple weeks, and he comes out this week. He doesn't throw for any touchdown, but he runs for 185 yards and 4 touchdowns in this game. He had more yards running than he did passing in this game. He had 109 yards passing to his 185 rushing. Yeah, Jalen Milroe, I think he's healthy now. Because, again, he was not running anywhere near like he was in this game against LSU in prior weeks. And it showed up on that scoreboard. And the Alabama defense playing defense for once and only allowing LSU to score 13 points.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. Jalen Milroe, an amazing performance on the ground. I mean, are we sure it was Jalen Milroe back there and not Ashton Genty? But all jokes aside, yeah, Bama with the statement win here. I mean, they're sitting there at 7-2 now, and they have a chance to really, really throw the wrench into things. I mean, I know they did it last year, sneaking into the playoffs and then eventually playing and losing to Michigan. But we could potentially see this Bama team sneak in. Kalen DeBoer is capable, I guess. I mean, he's got him 4-2 in conference play, and I'd say he's more than found a way to play SEC ball. But at the end of the day, like you said, that defense, though, great game from them. We know LSU can score points, but getting 2 picks off Newsmeyer and just holding this team to 13 points, that was a hell of a defensive performance.
Yeah, hell of a performance. And then also Jalen Milroe, over 15 yards a carry, man. Like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's no longer injured. He's no longer injured, that's for sure. Number 24, Missouri hosts Oklahoma. Missouri winning this one 30-23 in a game that they didn't look all too well in, but the defense kind of bailed them out a little bit in this game, and by a little bit, I mean quite a lot. 4 turnovers in this game, but all of them coming off of fumbles. And Missouri's been good at forcing fumbles this year. They've been one of the better teams at it, actually. They haven't really done the great job at recovering them, but they've done a good job at forcing them. And it finally paid off this week. But the offense still does not look good for Missouri, but 4 turnovers in this game, and one of them a fumble return for a touchdown to win the game. Really, really great game from Mizzou defensively. Offensively, though, man, there's a lot of questions still.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway from this one is Oklahoma was not ready for the SEC in any capacity. Looking at their schedule in their last 2 games, they've got Alabama and LSU. They're looking at being 1-7 in conference play. Well, on the other hand, Texas might end up, with only one loss in conference play. So this is very contrasting differences between the 2 new SEC arrivals, and like we predicted, this Oklahoma team would not be able to hang. And Missouri is a good team. They're an SEC team, and I think they're going to be one of the SEC teams that will not end up with 2 losses at the end of the year. I mean, it's capable, but I think their next game they're almost guaranteed to lose, in my eyes, just because of the way their offense, like you said, has been playing and played in this game. But if you win games with turnovers, and defenses are very capable of winning games across all levels of football. So if you get 4 turnovers. I mean, outside of the outlier, what we saw with the Lions in the NFL, you can win games with giving up multiple turnovers, but 95% of the time you're not going to win. And that's how it went for Oklahoma.
Yeah, that's just kind of just the way football works. You lose the turnover battle, 99% of the time you're losing that game. Unless you're the Lions, in which case the rules of football don't apply to you. Number 6, Penn State hosted just hosted Washington. Penn State winning this one 35-6. This was a whiteout game, of course. Why was this game the whiteout game and not Ohio State? Why? Just why? Why would you have a dogshit Washington team come in for your whiteout game and not have one of the best teams in the country come in and for your whiteout game? It makes no sense, but yeah, Penn State, either way, really, really good game. Again, they're beating up on the school for the poor, but Drew Aller, 20 for 28, 220 yards, 1 touchdown. He has really come into form over the last couple of years. 3 years ago, he was one of the worst quarterbacks in college football, and this year he's been one of the best. He doesn't throw a lot of picks, and he's just efficient with the ball.
Yeah, you said it. Part of Penn State's success this year is Drew Aller, who has become one of the better quarterbacks this year. I mean, he's not who he was. I mean, he's put those demons behind him. He still makes some mistakes here and there, but he's not throwing, the multiple picks that we've known him to throw. And yes, Washington isn't the greatest team, but I mean, they're now 5-5, and they might be bowl eligible by the end of the season. But for a team that's jumping over conferences and has to play a lot of teams on the East Coast and the Midwest now from the Pacific Coast, I understand, and I'll cut them a little slack. But at the end of the day, this is a top 10 team and now a top 5 team again, and Penn State played like it.
Yeah, they played a very solid game. They're still frauds, especially James Franklin, who can't fucking beat a top 5 team, but I digress. Number 12, Boise State hosted Nevada. Boise State winning this one just 28-21 against a bad Nevada team. And here's my thing. Here's my takeaway from this game. Is one, I watched way more of this game than I care to admit. But Boise State's quarterback is god-awful. And it's no wonder why Genty's getting 30-plus carries a game. It's just because they can't fucking throw the ball. Madsen's awful. He is straight up awful. 9 for 20, 119 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But he just cannot. He doesn't feel pressure. He's just not good. He's not an accurate thrower at all. And yeah, Nevada challenging a Boise State team that should have blown them out of the water realistically. And again, it's just another one of those games where it's like, there isn't a great team in any conference.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's funny that I said Ashton Genty's going to go for 3 touchdowns, and look at that. He went for 3 touchdowns. But yeah, you said it. They need to have a quarterback solution in Boise. Otherwise, they're not going to go far in the playoffs. I mean, you can run the ball all you want, but these playoff teams that they're going to be playing, should they make the playoffs, is they're going to have good run defenses. And Ashton Genty is a very good player. He's not going to single-handedly win you a playoff game at this point. You're going to need your A game from every single player, and if that's what you're going to get from your quarterback, you're not going to go far. But right now, Boise State, you're 8-1. It's a really good season. You're 5-0 in your conference. So barring, an undefeated Army, you're probably a lock for the power or group of 5 playoff position.
Yeah, if Army, as long as Army loses to Notre Dame, you're going to make the playoff if you're Boise State. But you can't be having games like that. And I think either way, the group of 5 teams just going to get bodied by whoever they play in the playoffs. But that's about that. Number 18, Pitt hosted Virginia. Virginia winning this one 24-19. And yeah, I think we kind of proved that Pitt's undefeated run was not real because they hadn't played anyone real. And now that's 2 losses in a row for this Pitt team. One of them was obviously a good team in SMU, but now to Virginia, who is an average team, at best an average team. And it was a game that, you know, first of all, you only scored one touchdown in the entire second half against this Virginia team that you were moving the ball against in the first half. And then, yeah, that second half, you just really weren't able to do anything. And then, Virginia ultimately gets the win here. It's a good win for them. Just a really, really bad loss for Pitt.
Yeah, this Pitt team went from being one of the roadblocks for Clemson to get to the ACC championship to now they have Clemson as a roadblock to get there because, they have to beat them. And granted, Pitt will get their chance next week, or this weekend rather, but at the end of the day, it's not, like you said, it's not a good loss for Pitt here. And now, even with Miami losing, you still have SMU at 8-1, and Miami's also up there at 9-1 atop the conference. Clemson is 6-1 in the conference, so right now they're ahead of Miami. But at the end of the day, if you're Pitt, you got to find ways to win games, especially against unranked conference opponents, and they didn't win this one. And like we said, once they lost to SMU, this might be the case of the frauds, and it's looking like that.
Yeah, Pitt very, very quickly, in just a matter of 2 weeks, went from, yeah, we're undefeated, we aren't frauds, to, yeah, you're frauds. The Battle of the Mormons. Utah hosted number 9 BYU. BYU with a second half comeback to win this one 22-21. And it is, yet again, one of those games where it's just like, yeah, there's really not a good team in any, or a great team in any conference. BYU should have lost this game. They should have lost this game. But the problem is that they shouldn't have even been close to losing this game because Utah has nothing. They don't have, I mean, they're down to their third string quarterback, for fuck's sake. It's another year for Utah where they're just beat up as hell. And yeah, BYU should have blown the doors off of them. And they just haven't looked all too great. Retzlaff, 15 for 33, 219 yards, no touchdowns, no picks, but again, it's a game that BYU shouldn't have been close to losing at all. And then once they were close to losing, they should have just lost the game because that's how bad they played.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. It's the Battle of the Mormons, and it should not have taken a walk-off field goal for BYU to beat Utah. This game was, it just should not have been this close. Like you said, Utah's down to their third string quarterback, and in any level, really, that's not a recipe for success. And that's not to discredit the players by any means. It's just, it's just not a winning recipe in any capacity. And Utah almost did it. It's just, like you said, it's another case of there might not be a good team across the league, and despite perfect records, teams aren't perfect.
No, there's not a great team in college football. Like, no one stands out. And yes, BYU, they're undefeated. They should have lost. Indiana, they're undefeated, but they should have lost to Michigan. I mean, to be that close with a Michigan team that can't fucking score, yeah, you shouldn't be that close. Oregon, in a close one with Maryland? I mean, come on now. What are we fucking doing here, man? And then lastly, number 21, Washington State hosted Utah State. Washington State winning this one 49-28. And it's kind of funny that Washington State, out of all the teams that left the Pac-12 this past year, outside of Oregon, they're the best team to have not left the Pac-12. Kind of funny just sticking it to all those other teams that did leave the Pac-12. But yeah, Washington State, great win here over Utah State. They have a really, really good quarterback in Madier. He's phenomenal. 18 for 24, 179 yards, 4 touchdowns. Washington State, they can run the ball too. They're really, really good at that. 2 turnovers in this game as well from their defense. I mean, Washington State, they've been playing some pretty damn good ball all year. And it's kind of a complete 180 from where they were just last year.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. They've got a pretty phenomenal quarterback play, but at the end of the day, um, I'm looking at Wayshawn Parker from the running back slot, who had almost 150 yards on the ground. It's a really good performance from him, and like you said, this Washington State team is kind of sticking it to the Pac-12 to parties, and I mean, it's weird that both teams that stayed in the Pac-12 were state teams, with being Washington State and Oregon State. But at the end of the day, Washington State is 8-1, and their one loss is to, unsurprisingly, Boise State. So that's a good loss to have on the schedule right now, considering Boise State's only loss is to number one Oregon. So Washington State, despite having a two-team conference, might end up making a bid for a playoff spot if they end up undefeated.
Yeah, and if you look at their schedule, let me pull that up actually real quick. The rest of their schedule, uh, it's not too bad. They got New Mexico, and then Oregon State, and then Wyoming. They
could be
could
11 and 1.
they could end up 11-1, and if you do that, you're in the playoffs.
No conference game does harm them, I do
Yes,
believe, but
yes.
they could sneak in
It's kind of like
team
it's
playoff.
kind of like Notre Dame situation where, yeah, no conference game hurts you, but
Washington
if you-
State's loss is much better than Notre Dame's loss.
right, right. But Notre Dame's going to get in because it's a brand name, and Washington State's not a brand name.
That's fair.
And that's just kind of the way it is. There's a lot of brand bias when it comes to these playoffs, so. Yeah, that's all there really is to it. So yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us. The IIHF had the Hockey Hall of Fame induction ceremony yesterday. So congratulations to that entire class. We have our finalists for the MLB awards. Do you want to talk about that real quick before we get going here, or do you just want to talk about it on Thursday?
Did we have any awards announced?
I don't think so, no. So I guess we
Yeah,
could
I
talk
know
about it Thursday.
Yeah, I think we can talk about them Thursday because we were talking about.
Either way, Schoolable for Cy Young.
Yeah, that's. But yeah, I'd say the only thing I can really feel like mentioning is the AL Central. Ain't no joke anymore, man. They sweep for Manager of the Year and Cy Young. That's a scary division.
Yeah, it's going to be scary in the next few years, that division. Also, Ovechkin's on pace for 50 some odd goals, so we're definitely keeping an eye out on him because he more than likely is going to break Gretzky's record this year, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye out on that, especially as we get closer to February and March, where he's going to be that much closer if he maintains his current pace. Basketball's in full swing, but the NBA Cup starts tonight. I completely forgot about that. So that in-season tournament starts tonight, so that's pretty cool, I guess. And yeah, so that's about it. There's not a whole lot going on in either of those two sports, so obviously we just stick to football. But when anything comes up that's worth talking about, we will definitely talk about that. But anyways, guys. Rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you guys want to see more of course. Check out our YouTube page. Follow us on Twitter or X at the Andrew N. Ian Show. Thank you guys again so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Thursday.